Hello, this is Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, and I would like to welcome you to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy, a podcast that takes a look at stories of life and leadership for smart, amazing women and men like you.
The most important thing is showing up. Don't think that you have to bring anything. Bring yourself, show up, and remain steadfast and be a...
If you are in a position of leadership and a position of management, bring women along with you.
Supporting women is my passion and my purpose. And talking with other women and men who promote women's leadership is one of my favorite things to do.
I've yet to meet a woman who did not know what she really wanted. She was just either afraid to ask the questions or she was afraid of what the answers meant.
Their stories connect us and help us to understand that the possibilities are endless if we support each other and lift other women up.
Trust is created by persistent identity. I show up as myself time and time and time again, and trust is built. It's one conversation at a time.
Hello, I'm Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, and I'm very pleased to welcome Dr. Jacqueline Sanderlin to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy. Dr. Jackie's innovations and visionary style has turned the question, why not, into a movement and inspires educators around the country. Currently founder and CEO of the Why Not Incubator, Dr. Jackie uses her more than 30 years of experience as an educator to create workshops for underserved youth to turn them into scholars. Her first such attempt achieved an 80% success rate. She conducted at the very challenging school where she was principal for young men destined for suspension, prison, or even death. The inspired her ask why not began a massive community partnership with resources working toward the same goal as the schools they serve. Now she has written a book, The Why Not Challenge. She blogs for Scholastic Magazine. She is an international speaker. She is the executive board member of the Goldie Hawn Foundation, Mind Up, and steering executive member of the Social Emotional Learning Alliance for California. Her passion has led to cultivating more than 350 community partnerships with dramatic school improvements around the world. She also is the consulting producer of NBC's reality show, School Pride, a guest on The Ellen Show, and we can go on and on and on. So let's hear more about what she's doing, about the Why Not mission. And I'm so pleased to see you again. We did meet earlier, so welcome back. Welcome. So glad to see you. I love the Dr. J, so I'm going to call you Dr. J. Welcome.
Okay, that's all right with me.
Dr. Nancy. So welcome. So, yeah, no, we met. Tell the story again, because I really, this will be the earlier part won't be a part of this recording, but it's so important that when we tell our stories to one another, amazing things happen and connections occur, collaborations, partnerships, and that's what you're all about. So tell that story, if you don't mind, one more time.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, I am just so excited to be here. Thank you, Dr. Nancy, for having me. And when you said story, it's interesting because I didn't realize a story was happening. We're just living and doing what we needed to do. And of course, working in very challenging districts as I was, faced with, more than half of my students in foster homes, homeless, even living out of a U-Haul truck. I had a couple. Dealing with parents who were incarcerated for life, both parents in some cases, or even one parent never coming out, is very traumatic. And so, and then there's just the poverty level that was surrounding us that also, unfortunately, drew other negative forces like gang violence and just all kinds of violence. And, but even in the midst of that, they were just wonderful.
Darn it. Dr. J is frozen.
should I start from the beginning for quickly?
Yeah, you
Okay.
started, you were frozen pretty quickly into that.
I was frozen. Okay, very good. So really quickly, just to kind of go back, working in very challenging communities called for me to think differently. And as I was saying, most of my students, over half of them, I was dealing with children in foster homes, homelessness, like one living out of a U-Haul truck, which I didn't even know could happen. Yeah. Parents incarcerated for life, sometimes both parents. That's really tough stuff. And during those years, being a special education teacher, curriculum specialist, principal, district leader, I knew I had to do something different. So the why not was birthed with me having a mindset that why not our kids have the same as other kids in different zip codes?
Yeah, yeah. And
I found out that while that was a noble idea, it was very difficult to get others behind me sometimes to make that happen within the bubble that I worked in. So that was my motivation, to reach out and start knocking Dr. Nancy on every single door that would open up to me. Every door I could think of. And that door sometimes would be a door that was, at a mom and pop store. Sometimes it would be a door that came from a business or a political leader. And then I started finding out that there were more yeses than nos.
Yeah, yeah.
And there were more people that wanted to be part of, as you say, the story that was unveiling to help provide pathways and opportunities and access, but as well as possibilities, not just opportunities.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I think you want Dr. Jackie? What do you want to be called?
No, let's go. I've been called Dr. J so long, I don't know what else.
Okay, Dr. J. So, I think that's absolutely correct. By the way, why not was something I've used for years. By the way,
really?
I've used that term forever. When I was going through my divorce, which was quite a while ago, one of the things I came up with was why not? And I said that first year alone that I would say yes to everything, but then I also used the why not. And I think that is such an important, so to see it's being used in such a positive way is so exciting. Okay, you're doing all this. We're talking about the story, but the most important story that we haven't told yet is yours. You've been an educator for 30 years. And
yes.
You definitely, you've taken on one of the most important things of all, which is educating children to be all they can be, and it only takes one person in a kid's life, a child's life, to support them, to really make a difference. But what about you? Where's your story coming from?
Thank you for that.
Wonderful things.
Well, my story comes from really kind of a different story than those students whom I've served. I grew up in a very middle-class family. Parents came from Texas, moved out here. Mother's a nurse. Dad was is an educator. And they tried to make me a nurse. That didn't work. And so, and I came from a long line of nurses. My grandmother was a midwife. My grandmother was a midwife. My mother was a nurse for 50 years. My sister is now a nurse practitioner at UCLA. And it was just one of those things that they say, if you don't do anything else, try being a nurse. And, and I did. I must say, I did try. I did try it. I ended up becoming licensed as a nurse.
Okay.
And it just wasn't my passion. It really wasn't. And so part of that, I'm so glad that my parents let me start thinking about, because what I at the time, I said, I really love television. I love media. I love journalism. So I got my degree in communications. And I started working as an intern at Channel 9, Channel 11, Channel 2. And I thought I was going to be an anchor or a TV reporter overnight. And they told me, go clean up the waste baskets and, make copies for us. That's what you need to do. And so I was doing those two things for a while until one of the, I guess he was an engineer at Channel 11, and he overheard me practicing my pretending I was an anchor, sitting at the anchor's desk. And he really did.
Oh, wow.
I went in the room, to go, clean up for them. And I sat there. It was dark in the room. I kid you not, Dr. Nancy. I started doing my anchor, and I heard a voice. I heard a voice in the dark that said, "Pretty good." I said, "Well, who are you?"
Is that God? Is God calling you?
God? Yeah. I started looking up, right?
That's great.
So he suggested that I go. He said, "There's a small cable network in Los Angeles. Go try them out, and you could, maybe they might not pay you, but you would learn a lot. And if they do, they might pay you. So just go there and do good." So I did. So I went to South Central Community News, and I became a reporter. And and I said, listen, I went to them. I said, "You don't have to pay me. I'm just glad to be here." Remember, I was living at home, so I didn't need to be paid. Right.
Yeah.
And I wanted the experience more than anything. And that was really what changed. I loved it. I was going around the city. I was doing all kind of reports. I remember during the uprising in LA, I was there during that and covering all of those stories and learning how to write, learning how to edit. And then I learned later that I liked having conversations with people. I liked having conversations with people outside of a cameraman standing there or outside of like the newsy type of thing. And I liked having like what we're having right now, real authentic conversations. I wanted to know people's stories. Mm-hmm. Those stories were very intriguing. So I said, okay, I either want to be a talk show host, but Oprah Winfrey had that already tied up. So I said, I don't know if I can beat her at that. So maybe I don't know about that, but I can practice until my opportunity comes. And so, anyway, it seems like my love for communications and journalism really met with my love for education and learning those stories of those children's lives and the families' lives. And then, of course, I love writing. So that took me into writing books and the books that would help other educators see those stories or even share their stories in literature, because I believe they have a story to tell. So my two worlds kind of came together. Then I heard people like you, and I was like, wow, she's doing what I want to do. I love speaking about that kind of thing. And so just having real models like yourself really encouraged me to kind of find my true self. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's, I mean, but that's not so simple. That's not a simple journey that you've taken. You've gone down a long, hard path. You've got your doctorate in education. I mean, you truly have had such a so much passion for people. But when was it you saw this great need to help these underprivileged, these underserved youth in the schools? I mean, when was that? I mean, I read, you were a principal of the school and you've been in education for 30 years, but when did it come to you? I mean, we all,
Oh, no, I remember the moment. Yeah, I remember the moment. It was the moment that it was around 2009. I had been a principal for 18 years. I mean, that's a long time. Most people, 6, 7, 8 years, there's a few of us who did 16, 17, 18 years. I had a son, and my husband and I felt like this was I didn't want to move in that role. And it was around 2009 when I was out. I can remember the day. Okay. I was on, and maybe it was around 8:05 in the morning. I was on the yard. I can almost tell you the date, but I won't go that far. I was on the yard with all of my scholars, and we were doing our morning assembly. And my morning assemblies usually are, talking about rules and let's make sure we don't push and we do not chase anyone, or we don't play tag, but have fun, do well today. And then it was at that moment I said to my scholars, I had them repeating things after me, just chants and positive words. And I said, why not? I don't know. It came to me. And all of the scholars, that stuck, Dr. Nancy. Everybody kept saying, why not? Why not? In fact, I heard it every day after that. I heard it from parents. As I was walking through the halls, some kids would say, Dr. J, why not? I'm like, wow. And when I really found out there was something to this, a parent came to me, and I still have this shirt today. She gave me a shirt, and it was on the back. She had it made, and she had the words, why not? And she also put pictures of different things we were doing around the school, going to field trips. We started having all kinds of programs that I did not believe could happen. We started having music, and we didn't have any money. But I called the Grammys, and they said, we'll provide music free of charge.
Yeah.
I called, and then when they said yes, I called the Academy Awards, and then they came and said, we will help you with theater classes and summer programs. Then I called William Morris and Endeavor Entertainment Talent Agency, and they took their entire foundation and said, we would love to partner with you so we can bring access and opportunities for kids for summer program and books. And we'd like to remodel your school. And then I met Cheryl Hines, actress Cheryl Hines, who really was the catalyst for many of these things to happen. I asked her, she came to my school to read to our scholars, and then other celebrities did as well. And she came, but other celebrities came and left. She came and she read, and she said to me, I can't believe that your playground looks like that. She says, you have a jungle gym and it's yellow taped all around it. And I said, yeah, we kind of got used to that. Kids don't play on it. We kind of got used to it. It's been like that. Nobody's fixed it. She says, that's going to stop today. And then her and I, we partnered, and she opened up a world of possibilities in my mind that there were more people who thought about doing something great besides me, but I couldn't do it alone. I needed the partnership of others who had greater influence and other ideas. And the old saying, two brains together just do better work. So that's when that happened. And Why Not has taken off ever since.
No, I mean, it's and when we talk about COVID, and COVID's not over, it's not done. But, I like to think that COVID's been an opportunity, and I think it's the way people think. There's a difference in the way people think. COVID has created an opportunity that many people are learning new ways of doing things, but better ways of doing things, as taking opportunities to improve relationships, to improve their workforce, to really become very passionate about what's important, who's important, and what's important. And I think that's what Why Not's all about, because all the people that you've talked to that came in for collaboration and to support your program really wanted a reason to why not. I mean, and I think that's 90% of the population, don't you think?
I do. I do.
Really, people really do want to help.
Yes.
They really do want to make a difference, but many times they don't know how, and they don't know where or with who. So
you're absolutely right. That's what I was told. They said, we would love, but we don't know who to talk to. We don't know where to start. Yeah. And also it's our fault too on the education side. We don't reach out enough. We don't raise the volume on let's work together on something. So there's so much to be learned on both sides that I felt it was a need to write about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there are so many things, for example, community organizations. One does one thing, one does another, but when they come together, when they all can work together, then everybody's doing what they're really, really good at, and how they can truly make the ultimate benefit to the community and to the individuals in that community. So, you said, I think in your intro, 350 schools or communities that your program has affected. Tell me how that works, and where are the vast amount of numbers of these communities? Where are they?
Right. Well, actually 350 businesses, 350 partnerships.
Businesses. Okay, yeah. Businesses.
Okay. And those businesses range from, large and small to mom and pop to big corporations, and some of them just individual families.
Yeah.
And those partnerships helped almost all the schools in Compton, California. So Compton Unified School District, Inglewood Unified School District. Also, I must give a big shout out to the LA Rams, the LA Chargers, the LA Clippers. They really have kind of moved into the city of Inglewood, but they were so interested in developing their own footprint, their own community footprint, by partnering and supporting schools. So they did a lot with murals and playground equipment, and whatever schools needed, eyeglasses with the Clippers for students. We've just been doing quite a few and they would sit on community meetings. And so being a leader in this, it was eye-opening to a lot of principals and educators whom I worked with, because I was also teaching them how to communicate with these non-educators who, from their perspective, certainly had something to offer. And it wasn't just money, Dr. Nancy, it was also time. Yeah. It was other kinds of resources. It was also just sitting on some of our meetings and committees to give their ideas, because often it was just us in a bubble trying to figure it all out. Yeah. And it was a monumental task that was really started to balance out when we started inviting them in. It was just awesome. I can give you so many examples of just, for example, Walmart brought all of their staff. So they were sitting there engaged in conversations with our teachers around what could we do better to create pathways for work and for their parents, for their families, and for them. And it was just great to hear the stories behind some of these individuals. Laurie's Prime Rib. I'm sure you remember Laurie's Prime Rib restaurant in Beverly Hills.
I don't remember. I'm not originally from California, so that must have been...
Okay.
I'm an import.
You're an import. Okay.
I'm an import.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, if you haven't went, please go. They're right. Okay. I don't know if they're open right now, but they're on La Cienega. I went there to eat one night with my husband, and I called the next day, got a chance to speak to the general manager. He drove his car to my school, met with all of my scholars, and then invited us all to come eat at the restaurant. That was when we got there, Dr. Nancy. He rolled out a red carpet, closed the restaurant to the public to allow all of our scholars and families and teachers to eat there. Let me tell you, that was a partnership we had for 8 years.
Wow. Yeah.
I still have the picture, which that I'll send you. And thank goodness someone took that picture from, I believe it was the Times. And we got off the bus, our rickety old bus. And I remember one of the scholars said to me, Dr. J, the restaurant's closed. It says closed for private party. I said, guess what? We're the private party.
Oh, wow.
So it was just an experience.
Yeah. You were opening doors to the youth, to students that would probably, and I think that's it. When we start opening doors, we realize that there's so many other doors that can be opened for these kids that make such a difference. The Why Not Incubator sounds so fascinating, but I think one of the things that would be something that I'd like for you to share is that you initially had talked about an 80% success rate. Tell me about a couple of the students, and you said because the success rate kept these young men out of suspensions, and even worse, which would be death, prison or death. So give me a couple of these men who are now men, and maybe what they're doing for you, because you always know that everything is full circle. At least everything I put out there comes back to me threefold, and I tell people that, and they don't seem to understand that. If you come from a place of abundance and you act in a way of abundance, not scarcity, it always comes back to you. So tell me about a couple of these young men who have come back into the system and the partnerships and collaboration.
Well, first of all, I love that because that's a law. I believe in that law. I believe in the law of intention. And I believe when you do put that out, it comes back even more so. And it has shown to prove itself time after time after time. The program I had at the time was called Gentlemen Scholars. And that was specifically for young men who had major challenges, didn't have a dad, lived in very difficult situations and needed the support. And they weren't A students always. They were just, it was volunteer basis, but in some cases I call it volunteer, but I snatched some kids and said, you're going to be in this program. And we would meet with them a couple of days after school. And these were kids who had to walk through gang gauntlets to get home. And oftentimes became gang members because they had to survive. Yeah. And this program that I hate to call a program, to be quite honest, I like to call it a process that they were in. They were, failing. In fact, our entire school was considered Program Improvement 3 at the time. There was 5 levels. And Program Improvement 3 was a level that it was suggested by the State Department of Education that if you're at that level, you need to provide some intervention, something different to turn the school around. It wasn't as low as Program Improvement 5, where they suggest you need to change everything, your curriculum, you may even need to change staff. So I tried to think with my team, what could we do? And of course, we thought of the basic things of more tutoring, more longer school days. And I said, no kid's going to want that. And I said, you know what? How about we think about it from an inspirational point of view? And so the team came together and they loved the idea of Gentlemen Scholars. I don't know, the word gentleman meant something to me, but let me just tell you, the girls said, we got to get in on this too. So the girls came in, and so the word Gentlemen Scholars was like, it started to become, okay, gentlemen and ladies as well. So everybody started becoming part of it because I let them dress up. By the way, we were a uniform school. It was required to wear a uniform, but I said on Tuesdays, I want you to dress up in your best dress. And I knew the kids understood the word church clothes. So I said, wear your church clothes, wear your church clothes. And they wore suits and ties. And oh my God, some of them came with so much cologne. I had to tell them that's tone it down. But it gave them a sense of pride. And I also think it gave them a sense of empowerment. Sure. Which is, to me, the next step after being inspired, is that they became empowered. And this program meeting, this process of bringing in mentors and individuals to speak to them and they literally, I kept it pretty loose. I said, please just come and share your story. I brought in different people. I even brought in 2 gang members that were next door who in the park doing nothing. I said, why don't you come and tell your story? They said, you sure? I said, sure. And little did I know, they started crying, talking about how not to get in gangs. Please don't take this route. It became something bigger, to be quite honest, than I ever expected to happen. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now, thinking about those tears. And the next thing you know, it impacted our academic program, because the children felt wanted and needed, and they felt empowered. When we started to remodel our school, it was just us. We started painting it. Then the park next door said, since you're doing that, we're going to clean up the park. And so everybody was helping us. the people, there was a man who lived across the street. He came across, he says, Dr. J, all of this cleanup you're doing, all this remodeling you're doing is bringing up my home value. Thank you. So I knew something was happening greater. I mean, I tell you, there was even a motorcycle game. And then the leader of it, his name was Spider. He brought the whole team. He said, you know, we love what you're doing. And it was just a community engagement. So I knew then that there was more to this than I had thought. So yes, academically, it brought us from Program Improvement 3, and we were able to come out that year, Dr. Nancy, that year we were able to come out, we raised all of the, at scale, to 80%. So, you know, I truly believe that lit the fire or planted the seed.
Yeah. Well, your book is coming out, and you know what, Dr. J, we could probably talk a long time, but one of the things that I want to challenge you to do, because you've got the Why Not Challenge, which I completely understand and agree with, but you know, I would like for you to become a part of the Women Connect for Good community as well, because what we're doing is we have what we call the Lift As You Rise campaign. It's women lifting other women as you rise, because that's the challenge that we each have. When we rise, if we bring somebody else along with us, just think if we all lifted someone else up every single day as we're rising up. So, and you can use this campaign in your schools, and you can use this in your book. We want everybody to take everything, but it's 52 weeks of lifting as you rise, and ways that you can do that for women, but it can be used for men as well, because men and women, until we're actually working together, we're not going to get anywhere. We've got to all come together. But this book and your Why Not Incubator, there's so much people can learn from you. And so where can they go to find the book, to find your Why Not Incubator process, and how they can get involved and how they can become a part of the community? Okay.
Well, thank you. And I call it the Why Not Incubator because an incubator is where we grow and we develop. And so through the Why Not Incubator, I offer workshops for individuals to learn how to do this very thing, to learn how to create connection, to learn how to build community, to develop something that they already have into a greater sense, and to expand what they're doing, to hear from others. And this incubator has started in 2019 and has really taken off into some wonderful spaces and places. And I'm just certain that we're growing because of it. So all you have to do is go to whynotincubatorconsulting.com. Or you can go to, whynotincubator.com or whynotincubatorconsulting.org. So I have a nonprofit organization, which is whynotincubator.com, which really deals with high school youth and empowering them. But for those who are interested in the workshops for educators and adults, that is whynotincubatorconsulting.org. And there you'll be able to find the book and the workshops and all the resources and the stories, and even some wonderful pictures that we were able to capture of some of these great things happening.
Well, I've got a feeling you're not even close to being finished. You're just getting started. I can hear your engines revving up. Well, one of the things I would like to share one other terminology with you, because I do this I have a 501c3 social, but I call it a social profit, not a nonprofit. It's a social profit. The social profit is positive. I don't like nonprofit. It seems
I don't either.
So, you're a 501c3 social profit.
Oh, I'm writing that down.
And that's the best. That's the best thing about when we come together, we can share all these different terminologies and ways to, instead of is the half.
Can you quickly tell me why you call it that?
Because again, think of all the 501c3s if they went away. Where our communities would be, our whole social structure would fall apart without these social profit organizations. Each community has them. If your social profit went away, what would happen to all these schools? What would happen to all these communities and all this collaboration that you have been creating? It doesn't work. But if you, just a short story. I actually was speaking to a group of 501c3 social profit organizations, and I started using that terminology, and I watched these people start to puff up.
Yeah.
They started to feel empowered. They started to feel important. They started to feel pride, all the things that you're talking about. So, we've got more work to do, but
I always learn something being around you. I always learn that.
Well, so do I. And that's why we need to keep working together. So, Dr. J, what we want to do is continue to promote what you're doing. Let us know what you're doing. Articles, we can promote that. Blogs, we can do whatever. The connection, Women Connect for Good, is no more than the connections that we have and the stories of so many people. That this community is growing, and it's so exciting because, we're just getting better and better. And we're all figuring out that we can all be a part of the change for good. And that's what we're doing. So.
Well, thank you. I would love to be part of it. I cannot wait. I feel honored to be offered to be part of this wonderful network of women.
Well, we've got to all come together to do this. And it's, it's a lot more fun when we do it together.
Yes.
Well, you have a wonderful day, and let's stay in touch. We can chat here in the future about things that are going on, but
please.
This is not the last time we'll be speaking. This is just one of the.
Do you promise?
Yes, I promise.
Yes. Yeah. All right.
So, you have a wonderful day and continued success. And you know what? Why not?
Why not?
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye. If you enjoy these smart, amazing conversations, please subscribe, rate, and review them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And read and enjoy more amazing stories in my books, In This Together, How Successful Women Support Each Other in Work and Life, and Leading Women, 20 Influential Women Share Their Secrets to Leadership, Business, and Life. Thank you for listening.